Hello everyone. Long time no see. Hope that you have a very good break. I know you may expect that to see me today, but you may remember that I'm still in Hong Kong. So what I'm trying to do now is for the first 2.5 weeks, try to make a series of videos, and those videos would be guiding you how to do first of all do some revisions over the last year, and then we'll go through the course. I think that may be better ideas than just grab some substitute teacher to do the class with you, then I'll come back and take over. 2 weeks, not too long, not too short. So probably we'll give this a go. Hope that when I do the video class, you're able to pay attention to listen to me. Or else, what you can do is try to play some videos or play some games as a background while you're looking at the videos. I'm fine, I'm happy with it, but as long as you have done the work that I gave you, I would be happy. So let's go through what's going on for the next 2.5 weeks. Make sure the first thing is you need to communicate with me by email. So you will be able to see the screen right now that I'm reading my email address out. So it's joechong@alia.vic.edu.au. So please make sure that when you encounter any problem or you have anything want to ask me, then you send me email. Then the other thing that you need to do for this particular email would be you need to hand in your work to me. In general, I'm planning to basically do 5 to 6 video clips for the first 2.5 weeks. But hopefully, and those video clips would accompany with about 10 guided questions in each in each video clip. So what I'm expecting you to do would be try to watch the video clip like today, then you go through some guided questions. On top of those guided questions, hopefully you have received your workbook. I left it in the office, so if you still don't have yours, you can go into the office and try to grab yourself one. So that's still not very clear, but when we try to go along with the video clip classes, and hopefully I'll be able to show you a bit more what you expected to do. So I don't want to waste too much of our time on doing videos, but the most important thing that you need to remember is those guided questions for each videos you do need to hand in to me. You have to hand in. So how, you may ask me, how can you hand in those questions to me? Make sure that you remember this. That is very important things in my teaching this year is your Dropbox account. For your Dropbox account, I have shared my Dropbox with you. So in your Dropbox account, you will see I'm opening this. So in my Dropbox account, I have shared my 2018 further folder. Inside the folder, it has lots of different files inside and subfolders. You can find it. The things that you need the most would be your textbook. In your textbook, it has all different chapters inside. You need to learn through those chapters along with me. And the other thing is your orientation work. So I'm expecting you have done some orientation work over the holidays, and when I'm back, I will come in and check over them. You will also see a calculator companion book. So one of the calculator that you need to learn, I also highly suggest that you will have, is the TI Inspire. We have a particular manual that helping you to go along with the course, so make sure that you've got one yourself. And week 1, inside the week 1, you will find your Year 12 workbook digital copy. So even though you think, oh, I don't really want a physical copy, you still get the digital online. You will find the second videos here, which is video 001 guided questions. With the guided questions, you can click it, the things that should open, and the Word documents come up. So once you've got the Word document, there's 10 questions. Go along with it from question 1 to question 10. I need you to finish it. There's 2 ways that you can hand this work to me. First is you can take a picture or try to scan it at school, and then we'll try to send that through attach a file and send it to my email address. Or you can basically type your answer and directly do in your Word document. You can try to save your Word document, your modified one, with your names, then send it to me through you with the email. So hope that you will remember what to do. What I don't really require you to do like those guided questions this week, because the next week would be your school camp. So for school orientation camp, we're supposed to just have fun, and you don't have to do anything until Friday. So hopefully you will be finished these 10 guided questions on Friday and hand it in to me. It's fine that you just say, oh, Saturday or Sunday, or even leave a few days. I'm happy to correct them for you. But well, if you really hand it late, I will mark it as late. It's Year 12 now, this year, and I hope that I'll be able to get you started at the beginning of the year, so you will have the pattern build up. Your study patterns or habits building up over the time. Yes, there should be enough information so far for you to kickstart of the year. So what I'll do now is every time when you try to do the video clip, for further maths it's not that complicated. I'll say we'll have about half an hour videos teaching, and you'll go through the book yourself and then do the workbook as well as the 10 guided questions, and you'll be fine. Even I'm not here. Then let's try to explain to you what's the Unit 3 this year. In Unit 3, it generally divided into 2 big areas. The very first one is our statistics topics. Under the statistics, there would be a few areas that we will focus on. The very first one, we will try to look at all the graphs. When we look at all the graphs, another term for the graphs is plot. So the plots, let's say the box plots that we talked about last year, histogram, bar charts, and all of them relate to express and to show the data for others. Another main topics that we go through the statistics is we basically call them a summary statistics. You need to tell your audience about, it's a whole bunch of data, and your work is to summarize it and give them ideas what all the data tells you. There's always a story behind all the data, and you need to write a summary to express them. In terms of the summaries, there's lots of terms that we have gone through last year, like the mean, that's important, median, and then we have the term called statistic, standard deviation, not statistic, standard deviations. And for this one, we will focus on this a lot later on when I'm back. So we'll discuss this a bit more further. And probably the last one that you think about would be some terms that you will use to describe the trends of your data collected. So in general, this is the summary focused on one set of data. And when you try to look at statistics, it's not really, we never just focus on one set. Most of the time, we have two sets or more. So what do I mean? What does that mean? It would be is a comparisons. We try to compare, let's say, class A, the test score, with the class B, and we have two classes and try to compare with each other. Or you can try to compare Alia College with all the other mainstream school, and we have or school maybe we have all other measurements parameters to measure against all the other school. So we have different sets of data, and set of data is like within a population, that within Alia College or within the other school. Then we try to compare between them. No matter what we do, the most important thing that we need to look at for comparing two or more set of data is a linear graph or linear relationship, and whether they kind of relate to each other. Hopefully you still remember those terms to describe a linear graph, such as strongly correlated, moderately correlated, or weakly correlated with one another. Or you can have a positively correlations or a negatively correlations. So those terms we'll need to go through them all again and memorize it before we go through the SEC coming up. So that helps us to understand basically the first area of Unit 3. There's a second area for the Unit 3. Let's kind of like extend this a bit. So what do we look at is your financial mess. I can hear the noise behind this straight away saying, again, financial mess. We don't want to do it. We hate doing it. But yeah, it's there. We have to finish it and try to understand a bit more in depth. So what does it, the major things that you look at in financial mess, that's you can't escape a percentage. You need to understand how percentage works. And when you look at percentage, there will be interest involved. How about your loan? And sometimes we talk about depreciation a lot. So all these would be major topics when we try to discuss further later on this term, or maybe before the mid-year break. Then one of the TVM programs using a calculator is very, very important for financial maths, and every one of you would need to be able to use TVM kind of in an expert way. So need to be on top of it basically. For statistic and financial maths, I just mentioned that before. I have attached the textbook online, and you generally focus on chapter 1 to 4 for statistics, and chapter 5 and 6 for financial maths. So then, and don't forget, there's something that's very important. During week 6, the 6th week of this term would be the very first SEC. We will run the first SEC on week 6. We spend the whole week looking at this. So what's the content? So what do we need to test on? Of the statistics, all of the above, except the financial maths. That come up with like the whole Unit 3 and all different subtopics in between them. Okay, let's try to show you what would be how do I use the book basically. So when you try to look at your textbook, so here would be your textbook. In your textbook, chapter 1 basically telling you about the univariate data. The univariate data means one set of data. It's just one place. You have all the data collected at basically from one restricted area, or let's say Alia College. You collect all the data within Alia College. This is univariate data. You don't really need to compare your set of data with another set. Then when you, as I said before, one thing that we focused a lot is looking at the graph and the plots. In chapter 1, it's been listed. There's a lot of plots that is actually in there in the book. Then for the next 15 minutes, I will be quickly go through all the plots that list in the book, and basically give you a very quick revisions about that. Very first one is 1.3 stem plots. So what would be the stem plot? Stem plot, you would be saying stem plots here. So look at the things, stem and leaf plot. We have one side talking about is a stem, the other side is the leaf. So when you try to look at the stem, most of the time is about the first digit. So let's try to go through a real examples. Let me try to make up those words. So let's say I have first entry is 5, then I have 10, the third one is 15, and then 16, 16, 25, 32, and 35. So how many entries do I have here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So how can I try to express this set of data with the stem plot? Not the plot. Stem plot is very easy. As I said, we just need to show the data to separate into the stem and the leaves. Stem basically is the first digit. The first digit for 5 is 05, and then the first digit for 10 is 1. There's 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and 3 there. So by looking at that, we just need to write down 0, 1, 2, and 3 for the stem, the first digit. Then the first data that I've got here is 05, so I write down 5. The second one is 10. That's 1 and 0. Then we have 1 and 5, 1 and 6, 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 2 and 5, 3 and 2, and 3, 35 here. So very quickly, the stem basically means the first digit of your entries, and the next one is the last digit. Your stem can be, if you have the data like 100, between 100 to 110, then your stem can be 1 and 0. Then you have like 100, and then you put a 1 on the other side. Yep, that's pretty much straightforward. Try to look at stem and leaves. So sometimes people will put a key underneath 2/2 equals to 22. But you don't have to. But stem plot is constructing by splitting the numerals of a record into two parts, the stem and the leaves, the first digit and the last digit most of the time. So you'll be fine doing all this. And in terms of the questions, you'll find some question in the workbook. I don't think that you need to do all this exercise, but if you want to reinforce your knowledge, feel happy, try to go through them. Feel free to do it. I'm not forcing you to do it. So after 1.3, then we move on to the 1.4. What kind of plot is listed in 1.4? There will be dot plot, histogram and bar chart. So what are they? What's dot plot? So you can see one example right here. The dot plot would be a straight line with all the dots above. And let's try to go back to my set of data. My set of data is stem plot right here. So what I need to do is to change that stem plot into dot plot. For dot plot is very quickly we need to have a straight line. For this particular straight line, I have to start with 0, 10, 20, 30, and 35. My very first entry is 5. So right at 5 here, I put a dot plot. Change all these entries into a dot. The second one is 1, 0, 10. The third is 15. So let's say here's 15. I've got one there, but the next one is 16, very close to each other. I've got 2 of them. 16, 16. I've got 25 for one dot, and I have 32 here for one, and the last one is 35. Then very quickly, I have changed my stem plot into dot plot. Right? Dot plot turn into dot. And what about a bar chart or histogram? Histogram is another very straightforward graph. Most of the time we put the frequencies QFREQUUNCY, the frequency as a y-axis, and the x would be the real numbers. Then I have 0. Here would be 10, 20, 30. And frequency would be only 1 and 2 and 3 appear once. So my first data is 5. So at number 5 here, I have 1 frequencies. That's referred to 5. Then I have another one at 10 that refers to 1 frequency appear once. Then I have 15, which is right here. Only appear once. So this is my 15. When you try to look at that, 16 will be right next to it. It appeared twice. I've got 25 for next one, then 32 appear once, and 35 appear once as well. Then very quickly, I would be able to change my dot plot into a bar chart, or some people will say histogram. Right? Okay, hope it makes sense to you for those graphs. And go back to your book. There's one thing that I'd like you to focus on is histogram and bar chart. Bar chart and histogram are different from each other. When you try to look at histogram, you will see that a vertical bar in a histogram are adjacent with no gaps between them, as we generally consider the numerical data scale along the horizontal axis as continuous. So you will have a continuous numerical data along the horizontal axis. So that's for the histogram. However, for the bar chart, this is not really something that you doesn't need to be continuous. So in bar chart, the frequency is graphed against a variable as in both figures. The variable may or may not be numerical. So it's basically it can be red or green. It's not number. So when you ever see this thing is not number, like dog, cat, rabbit, snake, bird, goldfish, that would be bar charts and can't be histogram, right? So that's basically nearly finished. Yep, one more thing that you will find the book needs you to understand, needs you to learn about is called segmented bar chart. So basically try to chop this into segment. So each particular portion of it. So how can I try to change my data right here into a segmented bar chart? The most important thing for a segmented bar chart is we put a bar here. No, it could be horizontal or vertical, it doesn't really matter, but your whole thing, one bar equals to 100%. Since I have how many data here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 data all together. So each one of them 100% divided by 8. So that means each data will represent 12.5%. So if I chop this into 8 equal parts, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's say they're all equals. Each of them refer to 12.5%. Then my very first one here would be 5. Then I have this one there would be 10. That one there would be 15. And I have 2 of them appear as 16. And one of them here would be 25. That one would be 32. And that one would be 35. And that is the way that we change a histogram or a dot plot into a segmented bar chart, right? So hope that all kind of clear to you how different graph can be transformed from one to the another. After doing all the graph, then the next thing, the very last one, there's good news. Probably takes another 10 minutes. I know this would be hard just looking at the videos, but yes, no choice. Keep reading and reading for the chapter 1, and moving further down, you can see a topic, not 1.5. 1.5 I will come back and do it with you, but I would like to do 1.6. Where is 1.6? Yep. Then you will find 1.6. 1.6 we have a few terms: the median, the interquartile range, the range, and the mode. So this is a way that we call them a summary statistics. So remember one topic that we need to do, the graph, and then we need to be able to tell a story about all the data that you have. So summary statistics. The 2 points for summary statistics mainly is you have to tell where the center is. So you have all the data, the middle one, the point, right in the middle. We want to find out of the average, which is the mean, and then we want to find out what would be the median, the right kind of the middle part. Then the second thing that we always need to talk about in the summary would be how would they distribute. So the distribution would be spreading out as like a cluster as a very small range, or that has very small number, or closer to the higher, the bigger numbers. So all these things we need to be able to explain. So let's go back to my data and find out the medians and the interquartile range and so on. So let's have a look. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you try to look at, we have 8 data. The median would be right in the middle. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 data for both, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 below. So I have 4 and 4. That means we don't really have a particular number that sits right in the middle, but doesn't really matter because we can do some calculations. So the one that in between the 4th number and the 5th number, like the 4.5 number there, would be our median. And how do we do the median? The median can be calculated by just taking the average of the 4th and the 5th. Both of them is 16. 16 plus 16 divided by 2 makes 16. We're quite happy. I have the median as 16. Now, to find out interquartile range, we need to go back to look at a few terms. So to look at a few terms, which is right there, we have something called Q1, Q2, and Q3. What is Q? Q is basically stand for quartiles. Quarter. We all know that quarter is a quarter. A quarter is 25%. So we basically divided or separate all those data into first 25%, second 25%, third 25%, and the last 25%. And the interquartile range would be the number that represent Q1 and the number that represent Q3. You find the difference between them. And like, oh, how about Q2? Q2 basically means median. Q2 equals to median. Right? So if we understand that, in order to find the IQR, which is the interquartile range, we need Q3 and Q1. Let's look at our data and find out Q3 and Q1. So what Q1 stands for? Q1 basically means the half of the upper half. When you try to look at the upper half here, which is 5, 10, 15, and 16, the first 4 data, where is the half of the first half? So if I separated those 4, half and half, I can find that my middle point would be in between the second and the third. So the second is 10, the third is 16, or 15, or 16. So then I would simply try to add 10 with 15 is 25. 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. So 12.5 would be a number for Q1. And Q1 means that from this point onward, it is the 25.1%. Not the first, like up to 0 to 12.5 is the first 25%. Then what would be Q3? Blue. Q3 again, so we have 6, 5. That is the first half of the second half, and the second half of the second half. So the lots of half, but you can see we clear 16 and 25 would be the first half of the second half. 32 and 35 would be the second half of the second half. So the number for Q3 would be right in between 25 and 32, right there. We have 25 plus 32 over 2. So by doing that, 3 plus 57. 57 divided by 2, I've got 28.5. Okay, so now we have basically all the information that we need. We have median, we have Q1 and Q3. So how do we calculate interquartile range? Our interquartile range, let's use green. Interquartile range is Q3 take away Q1. Q3 is 28.5, take away 12.5. I've got, which is 16. The same as the median. So again, that's a pretty good imaginary numbers. We've got a lot of 16 in there. So what does that mean? IQR means the middle 50%, from 25 to 75% is between this particular range, from 12.5 to 28.5, and it has 16 gap in between them. Doesn't mean there's 16 data, but it's like, yeah, the range would be, the range is there. Then the very last thing that we do is try to transform all this data into box plot before we finish. So let's give me a little bit more rooms. Just right under the, it's easy to do it with the same line there. So let's look at the dot plot. We try to get 3 points, which is median 16. Where is the median? So here would be our median, Q2. And where is our Q1? Q1 is 12.5, so it's somewhere here, our Q1. And where is our Q3? 28.5, somewhere here. We've got Q3. So have we finished? Can we just use those 3 points to do the box plot? The answer is no. We have to keep looking. So you try to keep scrolling down. There's one more thing that we do. It's called the range. And the range means the biggest number and the lowest number. And the range always use the maximum, take away the minimum. If we've got maximum and minimum and Q1, Q2, and Q3, that's not hard for us to generate a graph called box plot. 1.7. If you have time, go back to look at 1.7. But this graph telling you what does it look like. If we have the minimum values, Q1, Q2, Q3, and the maximum values, then the box is basically start from Q1 all the way to Q3. We call them the middle 50% box. How about the value between the minimum to Q1? We just need to draw a straight line. We call them a whisker, the first 25%. It's not that important because middle 50% is what we want most of the time. Then we have Q3 all the way up to maximum value, which is the last 25%. So if it could be horizontal, it could be vertical. If we add all the information together, then where is our minimum point? Is 5. So this is our 5. 5 is our minimum. The maximum is our 35. Then what would be the box plots look like? Let's draw a box from here all the way to Q3. A box. Then draw a straight line here showing people this is the Q2. Draw a line between minimum to Q1. Draw a line between the maximum to Q3. I like to put 2 lines there just to look a bit better. And that's finished. Everything is done, and we can change dot plot into box plot. Right? And let's see. Do we need to do anything? I think that's basically I can mark the end for the very first video class. So hopefully it works with you. I don't really know whether it works or not, but I like to give it a go. And please, if you have any suggestions or just really hate it, let's try to find something for the next 2.5 weeks. But remember, you need to hand in your work, scan your work. There's 10 questions online, which is like this. It's in the Dropbox, so you need to find this. Basically called Video 001 Guided Questions. I can send it to the school and ask them to print that question to you. So if you need me to do that, send me an email. I ask them to do it. So question 1 all the way to question 10. Right? For the last question, I need you to read page 4 yourself. And make sure that you be able to tell the differences between discrete, continuous, nominal, ordinal, numerical, and categorical data. What are the difference between them? Yes, I think that should be done. Thank you for listening. I hope that you will be enjoying this. If not, I'll be back soon. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.